Sandra Fenu is here with the business news. Hello, Sandra.
Hello, Israel. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
A lot
How
to
about
talk
you?
about today, right?
A lot to talk about today, sure.
All right. Hello. Good evening. My name is Sandra S. and I'm up and I'm here for business. The Ghana Petroleum Commission is pushing for a common local content policy for Africa's oil and gas sector. This follows a call by international oil firms in the sub-region for a uniform policy for the continent. Here is Ebenezer Sabote's report.
The lack of a local content policy for Africa has been blamed as the reason for the inability of more indigenous enterprises to participate in the oil exploration activities of their respective countries in the region. The situation is said to be a setback for some local firms in the sector. Speaking on behalf of the Chief Executive of the Petroleum Commission, Egbert Fable Jr., Deputy Chief Executive Prince Abuaje noted that Ghana has begun discussions with other counterparts in the sector to have a standardized policy for local participation in Africa.
Ladies and gentlemen, the recent agreement to establish African Continental Free Trade Area lends credence to the call for the integration of local content policies into a regional local content framework in the upstream petroleum sector. The essence is to standardize its operations. Such harmonization can be accomplished by establishing ways of working and bilateral arrangements among member countries in areas of mutual interest.
The two-day oil and gas summit is to promote local value addition in the oil and gas sector. Speaking to Joy Business, Chief Executive of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, Dr. KK Sapong, hinted that Ghana is about finalizing a deal with Guyana on exploratory activities in both countries.
Active MOUs that we started working. We have one to be signed with Liberia. We have one waiting to be executed with Guyana, faraway Guyana in South America. You see, all these things, the MOUs are necessary. For us in GNPC, our organization has been there for decades, maybe nearly 4 decades. And we have expertise, we can export talents. So we are looking at all these opportunities. And in fact, I can say that our brothers and sisters in the other countries are knocking on our doors for advice. And that is precisely what we are trying to do.
The event is being attended by oil and gas exploration companies operating in Africa. Ebenezer Sabotes reports for Joy Business.
In other news tonight, the Ghana Stock Exchange is optimistic of a pick-up in market activities. This is coming at a time that returns are in the negative, with some investors said to be leaving the bears. Acting Managing Director Eko Afeji says current programs being implemented will fast-track recovery.
When you study the history of stock markets around the world, we're still very young. Those things will come as we mature, as the economy gets better. And don't forget, the development of the economy is key for the development of any capital market.
In the case of Ghana as well?
As well. If the macroeconomic environment is very stable, we find if there's this thing about when interest rates are high, people normally will shift to that place. When interest rates are low, people normally will shift to equity. That is known all over the world. Let's take our neighbors. Nigeria's market is over 60 years old. Started way back in the 1960s. BRVM, that's Cote d'Ivoire, is just about ours. Ours is just 1990. South Africa is over 100 years. Kenya is over 50 years. We need to build that culture with time. Through education, through people understanding and developing the culture of investing, the culture of raising long-term capital. I'm not too worried. All that we have to do as an exchange and also the regulators is to keep on educating, keep on making the market more attractive to both investors and entrepreneurs.
And that will be the trick, and that could help us.
That will be the trick.
Let's look at, again, going forward again. I talked about listed companies and what they're doing and all the rest and blah, blah. For you, going forward again, what is the plan for us to look at the market as the place to be for, irrespective of where you're coming from, that there's a market where you can exchange shares, you can trade and all the rest?
That is why I said in my earlier statements about the fact that the vision is to make sure that the market becomes a preferred destination for investments. It becomes the preferred place through which you can raise long-term capital. That is why we support the government's agenda of setting up the financial hub, where Ghana becomes a financial hub and we find investors, entrepreneurs all over Africa, especially coming through here to either raise capital or do some investment. That is what we want to achieve in the long run. What we want to achieve in the long run is to make sure that the person walking down the street, when he has some savings to invest, he would think about this market also, about the fact that he can invest in shares. If he's not interested, you can still buy his treasury bills, but it's a way of getting your money back if you don't want to wait for it. They have government bonds, you can also do that. And there'll be more products that will come up with time.
Spanish ambassador to Ghana, Alicia Rico, is advocating the re-establishment of a direct flight between Accra and Las Palmas. She says this during a courtesy call on the aviation minister.
The courtesy call on the Minister for Aviation by the Spanish ambassador to Ghana saw the two leaders discuss various bilateral cooperations in the aviation sector. These included the sharing of technology, the provision of some air traffic control services by Spain, as well as Ghana's support for Spain during the recent International Civil Aviation Organization Assembly. Key on the agenda was improving connectivity between the two countries with the introduction of a flight between Accra and Las Palmas. This, according to the Spanish ambassador to Ghana, will go a long way to improve business and tourism.
Spain is the closest country to this continent. And a direct flight from Accra to Las Palmas would be 3 hours, 15 minutes. So I think it would really boost not only people-to-people contact, but trade, tourism. It would be a very good, both for Ghana and for Spain, to try and work on this.
Meanwhile, the Minister for Aviation, Kofi Adda, also noted the direct route between the two nations could come off once the home-based carrier comes into operation.
The bilateral air service agreement is on. We need to review it, but under what we've signed now, they can begin to fly. So we await any airline from there that would come and express interest to fly to Ghana. But of course, Ghana Airways, as she said, as we all remember, used to fly to Las Palmas. From there, the other airlines will take them to Spain. I'm hoping that when the home-based carrier comes on board, it will visit that as well. Just about some 3 hours, you can hop in there for tourist reasons, or for holiday, or for business, and then come back again, rather short. So you can go even come the same day. So these are things that they're asking for us to partner in, and I'm hoping that with further negotiations, we can conclude on some major things that will really bring some positive benefits to the two countries.
For Joy Business, Sheila Tamaklo reporting.
Senior Minister Yao Safomanfo is fuming over Ghana spending $1.35 billion on rice product importation, actually. So what are the solutions? I have details plus the latest on the Tree Crop Development Authority bill. This is a business news summary coming up next.
The Ghanaian Times reports that Senior Minister Yao Safomanfo has lamented over Ghana spending $1.35 billion last year on rice importation alone. According to him, foreign exchange that could be used on machinery to modernize the economy was spent on rice, although rice could be grown in every part of the country. The Minister of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Owusu Yakoto, has said the Tree Crop Development Authority bill will be passed by Parliament to receive presidential assent by the end of this year. The bill, when passed into law, is expected to provide great relief to farmers of tree crops such as cashew, coffee, and rubber, because like cocoa, they would also be paying fixed guaranteed prices for their produce. The Foreign Affairs Ministry has allayed the fears of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, over the impact of the closure of Nigeria's borders to member countries of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. Sector Minister Shadia Yokobuchi says the issue, which is affecting the traders' export of goods, is being handled with the best of approaches.
That's all for business for now. My name is Sandra Esina Mapeno. I have more business news after 8 p.m. but do stay tuned for the rest of the stories.